Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Horror Stories from the Internet. This time we are reviewing two creepypastas this time. That's right, two. Why? Because both of these two creepypastas are the same pasta with the same story. The only difference with both of them is that one of them is basically a remake slash rewrite of the original, despite having a different name. And yes, both are based on the same game, which means, yeah, they're both SonicCDCreepypastas. And we are basically reviewing these two creepypastas, and we are also reviewing these two creepypastas on this episode, because also, why not? So yeah, this is going to be a special episode for all of you guys who are watching this. Anyways, these two creepypastas we will be reviewing today are Sonic CD Maniacs Galore and its remake, Sonic CD Enigma. And I will say that I am especially reviewing these both as well, because honestly, for a third reason why, is because even though there are a shit ton of Sonic pastas out there, there are barely any creepypastas based off of Sonic the CD, in my opinion. It's really not that easy to find, like, a Sonic CD creepypasta out there. There's rarely ever a single Sonic CD creepypasta I can find. Most likely because, well, most people seem to be more interested into the unintentionally creepy Easter egg in Sonic CD, which I will say, that Easter egg, it wasn't intended to be creepy, it was intended to be like a silly Easter egg message or something from one of the creators of Sonic CD, or one of the developers of Sonic CD, who goes by the name Majin or whatever. And anyways, yeah. From the looks, but enough talking, see what might be interesting about these two pastas. Will the remake be any better than the original? Or are both going to be pretty good in their own different rights? Or is one of them going to be a shit pasta or possibly be mediocre? Or am I going to wind up being a sucker for the original while also really liking the remake? Well, sit back and relax as I read these two creepypastas and review them both after finally finishing up on reading up these two Sonic pastas. Sonic CD. That was one weird game indeed. Sonic CD was one of my favorite games as a child. Although I never owned a Sega CD, when I was about 8, I received a PS2 on my birthday, along with a copy of Sonic Gems Collection. Same in how the main character was given a copy of Sonic Gems Collection when they were younger. I was also first introduced to the fucking Sonic series with a copy of Sonic Gems Collection. Anyways, let's continue. I enjoy playing Sonic the Fighters and games like Sonic Triple Trouble. Sonic R was one of the games I couldn't stand, even back then, but Sonic CD, that was a different story. One night before bed, I was around 16 then, I was searching on eBay for some random Sonic merchandise when I saw it. A Sega Mega Drive and a Sega CD with a copy of Sonic CD on auction with the starting price of £6.99 pounds. Well, that's a little good change in pace with the subvertation of the low-price, creepy haunted game on eBay auction cliche. And with only 2 minutes left in the auction, I thought it would be good to play Sonic CD on the official console, because my PS2 had broken 3 years prior to this point. I called Mum, and she agreed to let me bid on it, and I I waited for the end to snipe it, but no one else bid. I didn't understand why, as it was a classic piece of gaming memorabilia, but I was happy to have won it. The next day, I was surprised to see it on my doorstep. I was still excited to see it had arrived, so I unboxed it, plugged it into my TV, and put in the Sonic CD disc, and proceeded to play. Everything was fine until I saw there was already saved data on the disc. The previous owner had completed the game, but forgot to get the last time stone. I then went on to Palm Tree Panic Zone and aimed to complete the level with 50 rings, so I could get the last time stone. But Sonic refused to move. When I tried moving right, he stared at me and shook his head. I tried using the spin dash and figure 8 dash, but he still wouldn't budge. I waited for about 2 minutes for him to move, but he kept making impatient gestures at me, and after about 30 seconds, he said, "I'm out of here," and jumped off the stage. Then the creepy game over music was playing. Strangely enough, it was playing the US game over theme, and I was playing on the EUR version. However, it was slowed down and reversed, so it almost sounded demonic. I just thought that the controller had a broken D-pad, so I plugged in the other controller and restarted the game. This time, I had finally got him moving. The stage played out as normal, but one thing was different about the stage. Amy was missing. I wasn't in Palm Tree Panic Past, so this didn't make sense. I proceeded to Collision Chaos Zone, and Amy was present this time, but the US music was playing for the stage instead. I went over to the area that was blocked off by the spikes, and once Sonic and Amy got in there, Metal Sonic came out of the passage and grabbed Amy, but he killed Sonic in the process. The game over music was playing again, and Metal Sonic was floating in the air during it, laughing at me with Amy screaming in his arms. I started the game and went to Tidal Tempest Zone, but there was no water and no badniks around. The future/past signposts were missing too, and Sonic looked worried as he kept making frantic gestures at me. At the end of Act 3, once I had defeated the boss, which was easy since there was no water, ergo, and no bubbles to break, I was taken to the end, but there was an invisible wall preventing me from destroying the flower. Preventing me from destroying the flower seed capsule. At that point, the ground gave way and Sonic fell for about 30 seconds before landing in a spiked bed at the bottom. Once Sonic had died, the game over music triggered again. Metal Sonic flew over and laughed at me once again. I wonder what will all of this weird stuff about Sonic dying over and over again and the US version of the Game Over theme being used in this weird copy of the EUR version of Sonic CD will lead up to, actually. I really wanted to find out the true meaning of this format, of this tormenting game, and what I could do to stop it. I wanted to see what would happen if I went to the rest of the levels, so I selected Quartz, Quantum, Quadrum, and proceeded to play it. The enemies were still missing, so I decided to do a little return to the past to see what would happen then. However, I wasn't expecting this. The level was burning down. The animals had turned it into ash and no robots were present. But there were robot generators that didn't spawn anything, as well as the Metal Sonic holograms displaying images of Metal Sonic laughing. What's more, they were indestructible. Wacky workbenches, checkered floor didn't make Sonic bouts at all. In fact, they didn't even trigger. Still no enemies were present, and those weird indestructible holograms were still playing in the past. Yet I still managed to get a good future. Finally, I reached Stardust Speedway Zone and things started playing as normal, that is until I reached Act 3. Metal Sonic was waiting for me as usual, but there was no sign of Robotnik. The race still played out as normal, but Metal Sonic was incredibly fast. I managed to get the end without getting in front of him. At the end, the finish was blocked off, and Metal Sonic was standing on the other side, shaking his finger like Sonic does at the title screen. Suddenly a message popped up which read, Suddenly, Robotnik appeared from behind and the beam from his ship killed Sonic. Once again, Sonic had died. Metal Sonic was laughing once more, with Robotnik doing the same. I now hoped that Metallic Madness would be different, and I was right. I managed to get a good future and finally got the last time stone. I got to the boss, which was Metal Sonic again, in the final boss machine, which had spikes instead of those 4 flaps. So there was no chance of me winning this round at all, and I was right again. Metal killed me the first chance he had, laughed maniacally once again, and the game was now over. 3 weeks had passed since I had even turned on that godforsaken game. Metal is freaking me out. I need to know more. I decided to post online about the game and all of its creepy content. One person asked me, have you tried identifying the game code in the CD? So I decided to contact a buddy of mine who knew how to hack into game code. Within 2 days, he replied and told me that the game itself has been tampered with, that I had been holding a possibly hacked copy of the game. But he also informed me that he had found a secret level whilst analyzing the gameplay. Apparently, poking around in the game's file codes, there was a hidden level known as Sinosalatum, Metal Sonic backwards, and that it would be triggered if I entered the following numbers into the sound test option 561209. Wait, is that the fucking sound test option for the Majin Easter egg I mentioned earlier in the start of the video?
Is 46 12 25.
That night, even though I was scared stiff, I opened a Tupperware of shrimp fried rice, poured myself a glass of Orangina, however you pronounce it, Orangina, whatever, and prepared to enter the code. Once I did, I was taken to what appeared to be the final level of Metallic Madness, but the title screen said Sinosalatum Zone, and the music was Metallic Madness's Bad Future. I made my way through the level as normal and destroying the Hotaru mini-bosses. I then got to the boss, which was Metal Sonic. His battle style in this match was similar to that of General from Sonic Advance 3. He was dashing from one side to the other, launching missiles and even shooting a beam from his stomach. It took me about 43 hits to actually destroy him. After that, Sonic was teleported to the past, watched as all of the Metal Sonic generators exploded and the animals cheering out with glee and carrying the corpse of Metal Sonic. As it passed by Sonic, I swear it said, nice reference to the OVA, also that what might be the intentions of this strange hack of Sonic CD. I think we will probably find out more at the end of part 4? Finally, the Titanium Terror was destroyed and the game returns to normal. After that, but sometimes I can see secret messages whenever I try to return to that level, saying, at least he was gone, and I didn't have to worry about that game anymore. Growing up, I've always had a special place in my heart for the Sonic series. I would watch every cartoon when I could, play as many of the new games as I could, and like most kids, make really cringe OCs. My father used to own a Mega Drive, which is how I got introduced to the series. I would play Sonic 2 to death with my friends, having winner stays on matches for the co-op play, and taking turns between acts for single player. The Mega CD slash Sega, or the Sega CD as it's also known as, was pretty elusive around that time, but those who had it were typically the cooler kids. Sadly, I never got that chance. It wouldn't be until the PS2 that I started to get more engrossed into video games. Nowadays, I have a multitude of consoles and try to get at least one Sonic game for each of them. My parents weren't exactly too thrilled at this, as they didn't have much interest in video games, aside from a few Wii titles. They weren't necessarily anti-video game, but I could tell they had traits of such. The game that always stuck out to me growing up was Sonic CD. I would play it on my copy of Sonic Gems Collection for my PS2, alongside Sonic the Fighters, Sonic Triple Trouble, and the Game Gear version of Sonic 2. Sonic CD is probably one of my favorite games of all time. The soundtrack, particularly for the EU/JP versions, were dope, and the level designs were stunning, and I really liked how it maintained a somewhat simple plot, as well as introducing new gimmicks. The only downside is that Gems Collection's version was the US soundtrack and not the European version. I had played Sonic CD on my PS3 and phone when the port came out, as with most games that I had purchased, I wanted to play the original, so I decided to look on Facebook Marketplace and then eBay to see if there was anything remotely affordable. I gave up on Marketplace before moving on to eBay. I looked for about an hour, refreshing the page every 2 minutes or so until I found what I was looking for, a Mega Drive Mark II, like the one I had growing up, with a Mega CD, 2 controllers, and several games, one of which being Sonic CD. The listing price kinda shocked me though, as it was about £10 with about £5 postage, which was understandable. Alright, so far I like how this remake is going further into detail about the life of the main character and some other stuff about him. And also pricing changed in the story, I guess, because the writer thought the original pricing for this in the creepypasta was still a bit too low to be a bit unrealistic and still cliche-ish, I guess. Anyways, let's continue. I was a little curious about why it was such a low price. Either I was going to be scammed or I had actually gotten lucky. I decided to check this guy out. Their eBay seller name was pretty standard, initials followed by birth year, and had an approval rating of 99.9%, which is pretty good. The only neutral review was about a package being lost in the post, and which they fully refunded without hesitation. I smiled at that, as the guy seemed pretty okay. I wanted to check out what else they were selling, and it was mostly old Sonic games and other pieces of tech and sporting goods. Worried that someone would get ahead of me, I quickly purchased the item, then went back to get a Wii game that they were selling. Mega Drive and Mega CD. The package arrived about four days later. I opened it up and they had put the Wii game in there as well, which was pretty sweet. The Mega Drive and Mega CD were covered in clear bubble wrap, which was held together by brown parcel tape. The consoles were in mostly good condition, minus a few scratches and scuffs here and there. I quickly grabbed the games out of the separate box that they were packed in. I wanted to check out Sonic CD first, as that was the one that I was looking forward to playing the most. The case was pretty well looked after. No scratches, no cracks, no weather damage or damage to the inside. What ticked me off was that Sonic CD disc was completely blank. Just a CD disc with SCD written on it in a purple marker. I've heard that you can burn games to the console, so I wasn't really surprised at that. I was mostly annoyed because there was no picture of the game close up or anything in the description that says it wasn't legit. So I decided to take a quick walk to clear my mind and grab some snacks on the way home. After getting home, I decided to up my bed. I decided to go up to my bedroom and set up the console. Luckily, came with an AV lead, so I could play it on my TV. As I was getting ready to turn the console on, I got a message from the seller. It simply said, "Ready to play?" This was a little off. I had spoken to them days prior to getting the console, and they were normally really quick to respond and really kind. I simply replied a question mark, then waited about a minute for a response. Nothing. I booted up Sonic CD and eagerly grabbed the controller. Nothing really seemed out of the ordinary aside from a few sound lags, which I guess was attributed to the age of the console. I then watched the opening cutscene and gently nodded to the music. I got to Palm Tree Panic, which played out pretty normal, and the music was different to what I envisioned. Instead of the cheery music, it was a very peaceful theme made up of bird sounds, trees rustling, and a very gentle guitar sound. Bad Future had a more death metal tune, with the occasional wolf howl and crow caw. Past was just the trees rustling in the wind with no instrumental. I also quickly noticed that I had one life, so I wanted to make sure that I stay alive. I wanted to finish the first zone act in the present so I could see Amy, but by the time I got to the end, all I could see was a pink headband lying on a rock. This made me turn cold for just a second. I looked around, but I couldn't find Amy. I turned onto the next zone, hoping that the next level would be a bit normal. The second zone still had the powerful woodland music, but the level looked ravaged and eroded. Slopes were broken and most areas were inaccessible due to higher platforms breaking, and there were hardly any trees. Badniks would still appear and drop flowers, but they wouldn't bloom. The weirdest part was that Amy was frantically running around Sonic. She looked terrified and would cling onto Sonic every 15 seconds. She would let go after 5 seconds, as she would not let me jump. I got to the end and jumped into the giant ring. As I did, Amy fell onto the floor. Her body was shaking. She was crying really hard. Once I warped into the bonus stage, it completed itself. This was getting really weird, but I thought, hey, free time stone. This next was the boss level. Zone 3 came up, and the start of the guitar riff really scared the crap out of me. The level itself was unchanged. Everything played out fine. The boss was still a piece of cake. And now onto Collision Chaos. The colors for this zone were a lot more vibrant, rather than the normal pink color. It was a pastel blue, the sky was a pastel green, and everything looked very cutesy. Amy was present here, and she looked rather calm. Her headband was finally back on, and she still was pretty lovey-dovey towards Sonic. I then got to the part where the level is blocked off by the spikes, where Metal Sonic goes to grab Amy, or at least was supposed to grab. He darted right through Sonic and sliced Amy in two. A loud shriek, like the one that plays when she gets grabbed, played, but it was high-pitched, like she was fearing for her life. Metal Sonic just laughed as Sonic stood over Amy's corpse, looking completely show-shocked as Metal flew off. The stage color shifted back to normal. Sonic's expression was pretty much the same until I got to the end. Rather than walking off screen, he collapsed to the ground and clutched his head. The next zone's color was the same, but the music was different this time. It sounded like a 16-bit version of Ave Maria. Sonic looked really tearful and moved slower than usual. It's as if he had lost all energy. I started to cry myself. This was just spooky. All of the badniks couldn't hurt Sonic. He just went right through them without taking any damage. which was also a relief as there was literally no rings. I got to the end and Sonic just looked exhausted. Then I saw something that freaked me out. Instead of Sonic got through Zone 2, it said, "Hope it was worth it." Then Zone 3 began. Collision Chaos had now entered its bad future. Instead of the over-industrialized aesthetic, it looked like it was being demolished. All of the structures were crumbling, item boxes were broken, and spikes were covered in red goo. The springs and pinball flippers functioned normally, but Robotnik was nowhere to be seen until I got to the top. Robotnik's clothes were black, and he was wearing a top hat, holding a really well-made tiny flower. He looked pretty downcast as well. He just walked up to Sonic, then ran away. Sonic just sat down and held the flower. He then got back up and slowly moved over to the flower seed capsule. Collision Chaos was now over. Tidal Tempest was next. Tidal Tempest was pretty much the same as it normally is, but the music was more orchestral and rather depressing, like a slowed down organ with the occasional ripple sound every now and then. Sonic looked like he was trying to put on a brave face. He looked really frail and without any drive. I honestly felt bad for controlling him after what he had witnessed. Bubbles on the floor on the water were a lot more common, and once again, the enemies didn't hurt Sonic at all. Once I had finished the first zone, another message came up on the level complete screen. This one read, "You did this. You killed her." I was extremely worried and rather lost. Who is her? I knew he meant Amy, but it felt as if this was directed at someone. The second zone was pretty much the same as this one. The boss was a different story altogether. Rather than chasing Robotnik to the boss area, the path was immediately open and no boss was present. Robotnik stood on the side of the flower capsule as there were 5 bubbles in my path. The boss music played as Sonic looked angrier between each bubble. Once he had done all of them, Sonic angrily pointed towards Sonic as if he wanted him to go away. So Robotnik drooped his head and ran off. Sonic looked really exasperated after that, and I felt it so hard. Quartz Quadrant, my favorite stage, was next. This one was very upsetting to see. The entire level was burning down. The skeletons of the animals you could normally find in this game were scattered across the floor, and all of the badniks were immobile. The music that was playing seemed to be an angelic chorus that sounded like the theme that plays in Sonic Adventure 2 when a Chow becomes a Chaos Chow. Towards the end of the second zone, I saw a Metal Sonic hologram projector which showed him holding Amy's severed head. This made me gag at the sight. Sonic fell to his knees, looked as if he was praying for all of this to stop. Once the second zone was complete, another message came up which said, "There is nothing you can do." Sonic fell to the floor and just sat there clutching his knees. No boss was present in the third zone. Next was Wacky Workbench. This level was clearly dilapidated. The music that was playing had a similar sound to Hyuponia from Klonoa 2. Honestly, I was gonna say this later into my final thoughts and review for both of these creepypastas, but honestly, this remake of Maniacs Galore here is really showing off the fact that it's kind of inspired by the creepypasta NES Godzilla more than how the original story of Maniacs Galore does, in my opinion, from what I can assume. The bouncy floor was inactive. All enemies were rusting and sparking. The animal skulls were hanging on the wall, and then I saw it, a statue of Amy. Sonic just stopped and began to cry for about 30 seconds until I could get him moving again. No boss was present in the third zone. Stardust Speedway was here, and whilst the stage was normal, the music was very ominous and depressing. No badniks were present, but there was a ton of rings. I managed to get as many as I could so I could enter a special stage once I got to the end. I saw a big ring, but it was gray and rather glitchy. I entered anyways as I thought something good would happen, but man, I was wrong. The screen loaded to the special stage, but immediately cut to black. I began to hear echoing voices and screams of pain. I heard several cries of, "Stop it! Leave me alone!" followed by anguishing screams, followed by, "Help me!" I then saw an image flash of a mutilated Amy, or at least I thought so. Then I got to the boss. Metal Sonic turned around and grinned maniacally. Sonic then began charging up a spin dash before dashing at Metal and destroying him instantly. Metal's eyes shut off as the level continued. The music that was playing was a very ominous piano melody. Sonic just looked weak as he walked on. As I began to pick up speed, he looked like he was about to collapse. Once I reached the end, I saw what looked like rings, but they were blue. Sonic picked them up, and as he got weaker and weaker looking from getting them. The end message read, "This was getting incessantly morbid now, but this was only the start." Now it was time for Metallic Madness. The music that played was a slowed down version of Green Hill Zone. Sonic came in, looked really drowsy, and just done with everything. The ring count was at 10 from the rings that I picked up. But I noticed that each passing 20 seconds, the ring count went down by 1. This level was absolute hell. Spikes, enemies that did harm, and traps everywhere. The ring count would only go down from the seconds passing, not from getting hit. Once all 10 ran out, Sonic shouted rather sullenly, "I'm out of here," then jumped off the stage. The text that came up following this read, "You died," instead of "Game Over." The music that was playing was a slowed down version of the EU Game Over theme. The game then crashed and the console turned itself off. I tried to play the game again, but it wouldn't let me access it. The console would boot up the game, but every time the title screen came up, it would crash when I wanted to play. Just like that, it was over. But something was missing. There had to be a hidden meaning behind the events that transpired. The game itself was now truly unplayable. I had a lot of questions behind everything that happened. I decided to contact the seller to see if they knew that the game was about, what the game was about, and why they sold it in the first place. I swallowed my panic behind doing this before hitting send and waiting for an answer. Within the day, they got back to me and told me that they wanted to talk to me about it in person. I noticed from their home address that they lived only 2 towns over. I got them to meet with me at a local coffee shop and requested that I bring the game with me. I wandered in and ordered a hot chocolate for myself and sat down. Then a girl walked in. She was in her mid-20s. Her had brown hair and wore glasses and was wearing a white summer dress. She walked over to me asking if I was here about the game. I immediately said yes, pulled out a chair for her, and I introduced myself and then cut to the chase. I asked her about everything that transpired in the game, from the music right down to every morbid detail. She then stifled a tear, took a deep breath, and then told me about it. You see, years ago, her brother and her were near inseparable. They did pretty much everything together, and always enjoyed playing video games and generally being in each other's company. Around middle school, her brother began to date a girl named Amy Rose. Because of this, she would affectionately refer to him as a nickname, as the nickname Sonic, which is named after the character of the Sonic series. But anyways, she remembered AR saying that she owned a Mega CD and Sonic CD, and then thinking that she was the coolest person ever. After her brother left school, he went on to train as a junior game developer and part-time ROM hacker. That she, the sister, went on to her studies in environmental science. AR, according to the sister, had recently came out of a really terrible relationship with a literal psycho who gaslit and abused her verbally and emotionally. After breaking things off, he vowed to make her pay. She began dating Sonic as a way to hide, but truly loved him with all of her heart. On the eve of their second year anniversary, AR began to grow paranoid after receiving threatening messages from her ex. Sonic wished to propose to her using a beautiful emerald ring and was incredibly excited to pop the question at dinner at their favorite restaurant. A few minutes after arriving, Sonic received a phone call he dreaded to pick up. Amy Rose had died after being repeatedly stabbed in the stomach before having her neck sliced open by her ex, who was later caught and arrested. In the 2 months following, Sonic became apathetic, irritable, depressed, and lacking any energy to do anything. He pushed his friends away as he hated the pity. He became more focused on his work, resulting in severe insomnia and exhaustion. He became alcoholic and suicidal. One day, he found AR's ex and murdered him in the woods. He then ran home, took aspirin from his sister's room. She suffered from migraines. Left a note, and then drove off. The next day, he was found dead after jumping off a building following an aspirin overdose. After he died, the sister was contacted by AR's mom, who said that Sonic had left something in her possession before he died. She discovered that it was AR's Mega Drive, Mega CD, and several games, including a flash drive containing a Mega Drive/SCD emulator and a game titled SC Enigma. After playing it, she burned a copy to a CD to play on the Mega CD, keeping the flash drive for herself as it also contained a folder titled For Charlene. She told me that her name is Charlene, and that the file contained a message for her that Sonic had written prior to his death. And in the letter, he explained that the weight of the grief that he had experienced from AR's death was too much for him to carry. He hated himself for not believing AR's ex would do something to her. And even more so that he should have picked her up when they went out. After her death, he pushed everyone away. but felt at ease knowing that his true player 2, Charlene, would never give up on him. He explained after killing the ex, he had decided that he wanted to apologize in person for taking the only way out. He ended with my player 2, my Tails, and my best friend in the world. No matter how hard I pushed you away, I will always be thankful you stayed. I may be leaving, but I will always be a part of you. Charlene broke down in tears as I gave her a hug. All she requested is that the CD be kept by me as a way to honor the memory of Amy Rose and Sonic. I happily agreed. We then had a drink together, shared a muffin, just talked for almost an hour after that. As she left, she turned and gave me a kiss on the forehead and said thank you. I smiled as she walked away, but then something popped up into my head. I yelled out her name, asked about the ready-to-play message. She turned, giggled, and said that she did it as a joke. She then took me to her brother and sister-in-law's resting place, delivering a bouquet of flowers which were similar to the flowers in Collision Chaos Zone. I smiled at this, pulled the disc out from my pocket. I placed it on the bouquet and paid my respects to them. As we walked back to Charlene's car, I heard a rustle in the wind, looked back in contentment, forever remembering short-lived lives of the real Sonic and Amy. Holy shit. Holy shit. Now, I was kind of right in my intro for this video with the idea of the Creepypasta Maniacs Galore would be a SonicCDCreepypasta that I would be a major sucker for, and the idea of me respecting both Maniacs Galore and its remake Enigma as good stories in their own different respectable rights, with the many changes between the two of them by the same author. But the remake of Sonic CD Maniacs Galore, all I can say is, holy shit. I never expected the fucking remake of Maniacs Galore to be so good. And well done, and much more longer than the original and such. Also, another thing I should mention is, like, from the looks of it, nobody has even noticed the fucking, remake of fucking Maniacs Galore. It's just, like, there on, like, the fucking Somewhere Gamers wiki with, like, no comments whatsoever. It's like nobody even noticed it and stuff. After, like, I guess, like, probably because Mudahar stopped being active on, like, reading and reviewing creepypastas on the wiki and stuff, that, like, not that very many people are on that wiki anymore, even though the wiki itself is still active and and like a couple people here and there still make their own creepypastas and share them there when they're like gaming creepypastas and considered blacklisted from like the main creepypasta wiki. So yeah. Anyways, but what I especially never expected was that Sonic CD Enigma as a remake would be much more different in such a far beyond way to be its own different story than how the original creepypasta it's a remake off of was. Now, honestly, I admit I am a sucker for the Sonic series. Mainly, I am a huge fan of the Sonic Adventure games and shit. And I would kindly be fine with reviewing any Sonic creepypasta I find in my path and stuff. But I gotta be honest, though Sonic CD Maniacs Galore had its flaws and stuff, it still was kind of good in my eyes, and honestly I'm a sucker for it. And when I mean I am a sucker for Maniacs Galore, I mean I am a sucker for it in the sense that I see the creepypasta as a young new writer of the creepypasta community's attempt at trying to make an original and pretty good creepypasta with less cliches being used in it. Considering the only cliches in Maniacs Galore Maniacs Galore seem to have used is basically just the eBay cliche and the demonic cliche, and that's it. But Sonic CD Enigma, on the other hand, I gotta say that Enigma as a creepypasta was really goddamn good, and the build up for the fucking plot twist behind the ROM hacking and shit, holy shit. I'm still like surprised by how like fucking Sonic CD Enigma ended. But anyways, I don't think I will ever be forgetting these two creepypastas. Also, another thing I should mention is that Maniacs Galore has a sequel to it, but I will get to reviewing that in another episode soon. And that episode where I review said sequel in it will also be another special episode like this one, as it's going to be basically another episode where I review two creepypastas, and one of them is obviously going to be the sequel that I mentioned to you guys right now. Well, the other is going to be one that you're going to have to find out yourself when I finally get that episode out or whatever, or get to making that episode and stuff. But anyways, enough talking about the future. Let's go over all of my thoughts for these two pastas in particular. First things first, I kind of like Maniacs Galore with how it goes with the mysteriousness of the hacked Sonic CD game, the main protagonist guy, and how the main antag in the hacked game in the creepypasta was a sort of much more sadistic type of Metal Sonic, and how it seems to have something with dealing with Sonic in the game being forced to be tortured over and over again by its Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic is the devil. Okay, never mind. Enough joking around. Also, making me kind of curious on why this hacked game was made. I do have to admit that the ending to Maniacs Galore was pretty underwhelming in my opinion. And then we have Enigma. In that one, it was a lot more longer, has a little bit more detail in its story, and the ending is the type of ending that, in my opinion, strongly fits with the story of Enigma. I will say that the ending for Enigma, since it is a remake of the original Maniacs Galore creepypasta, is very much the opposite of underwhelming in my opinion. For this remake, and I gotta say, I love the ending to this kind of. Honestly, like, the creepypasta started out normally, and it started off normally, and it looks like the main character got a hold of a strange hacked Sonic CD game or some sorts or whatever. And it ends with the main character wanting to know more besides behind this game and stuff, being what it is with how they got it and how they played it. They discovered why the hacked game turned out the way it is, and it turns out it was like made by the brother of the seller as something to go along with their suicide note of something really awful that happened to them and shit. And honestly, not only this creepypasta was quite creepy on what the main character found in the hack and stuff, but it then goes into like Fuel's Pasta territory with the ending and stuff, with, like how I mentioned earlier. And honestly, it kind of makes you feel bad for Charlene, the seller, in this story, and the other characters who unfortunately undergo this horrible incident. And or involved in it. And while Maniacs Galore's ending was pretty underwhelming, I gotta give it credit for the fact that it uses the sound test feature of Sonic CD for the final part of the entire story to end the weirdness that was happening in the hacked Sonic CD game and stuff. And also, another thing that I like about the fucking ending for Maniacs Galore was the fact that it had a small little feature where the main character got help from his friend who know how to like mod games and do ROM hacks and stuff to help them out on like figuring out why their fucking Sonic CD game that they got was acting all weird and stuff. And of course they confirmed it to them that the game was possibly hacked or something. It was some sort of weird possible hack or something, though it's not confirmed on whether it's a hack or not. And I also like how it gives off this sort of cliffhanger in the underwhelming ending of this creepypasta, kind of just hinting at what's to come in Maniacs Galore's sequel, which I will be covering soon in an episode that I mentioned on wanting to make and stuff. But another creepypasta like I mentioned before, I have plans on like covering the sequel with another creepypasta in that said episode and stuff. But yeah. Anyways, honestly, John Gear Chow, however you pronounce the first part of your username, you did a really good job with that remake, and honestly, the original Maniacs Galore, I honestly do like the potential you had with Maniacs Galore and stuff, with how you made it when you were like younger and stuff, or pretty new to like the creepypasta community and stuff. And I can't wait to take a look at the official sequel you wrote for Maniacs Galore, honestly. And when I get to it, so yeah. If Yon Gear Chow is watching this video right now, I just hope he knows on what I said earlier is that I pretty much enjoyed both Maniacs Galore and its remake, so yeah. Also, another thing is that both Maniacs Galore and its remake gave me big Pokemon Lost Silver vibes, maybe probably because it had, like, both of them sort of have, like, this thing for something about, like, torment and death, basically. Well, the original Maniacs Galore had something to do with, like, the torment of, like, the fucking player character the player was playing as, Sonic. And the other was about, like, a horrific, unfortunate tragedy that the player later finds out why that the hack was based off of this horrible tragedy. But, yeah. Anyways, though I will say the remake gives me more Lost Silver vibes than the original, honestly, because of its more relation to death or stuff. Well, I don't know. But anyways, I'm sorry to say, I don't know, it's a habit of mine. But anyways, that's all for this episode. If you have any suggestions for what creepypastas I should review next, let me know in the comments in this video below. This is Wonder Hellblazer. I'll see you all later in the next episode.